Hello, good morning, everybody. It's Friday, which means coffee chat day. If you don't know, my coffee chats are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can always hop on and catch them during those times. I'm going to give a few seconds for people to hop on, and then I'll dive right into today's topic, which there's so much that I could talk about when it comes to self-sabotage. This could be a very long live video, but it's going to be quick. And if you're interested in learning more about this and addressing them in your life, then I have a very exciting upcoming offering for people where you get to dive into this stuff really deeply. So more on that in the future. But today we're going to talk about self-sabotage because it's a subject matter that keeps coming up with my coaches and also keeps coming up just with challengers in general and in conversations that I keep having with people. And I think it's very little understood how insidious our self-sabotage is. And I really, really want to shed some light so that you guys understand how it's working in your own life. So if you don't know what self-sabotage means, it's the tendency that we as humans have to disrupt positive situations or positive trajectory in our life. And you might think to yourself, why would I want to do that? Like, why would I want to disrupt something that's happening in my life that's really good? And the truth is that we have a blueprint in our consciousness of the tolerance that we have for feeling good. We all have a kind of thermostat around how good we are willing to feel in different areas of our life. We are not all capable of feeling the same level of happiness or fulfillment when it comes to every area of our life. Some people have a very low thermostat for, let's say, financial joy and success. So it seems that they continuously sabotage any financial success or movement forward progress. Some people have it for relationships and they just keep having shitty relationships back to back to back and they don't know why. And some people have it in multiple areas. It was set at a very low tolerance, very young, and as a result is now the theme of their life. So there's a whole biological component behind what happens with our belief system. And there's a book called The Biology of Belief. I think the author's name is Bruce Lipton, if I'm not mistaken. He is epigenetic, scientist. I'm pretty sure he's an epigenetic scientist. And he focuses on how our belief systems actually change our gene expression, which is insane if you understand what I'm saying right now. Your belief systems, whatever belief systems you acquired when you were young, because that's where belief systems really begin to coalesce, because when you are a child and you are growing up and you are surrounded in an environment of family members and people, and they're sending these messages to you on a regular basis about money, right? If you see your family constantly fighting over money, then you might develop a belief that money causes problems. If every time you want to buy something, your parents always say, we can't afford that, or money's hard to come by, or money doesn't grow on trees, or whatever, you might develop a belief that money's really hard to make. If you see your parents fighting and they're married for X amount of years and all they do is fight, then you might develop an understanding that intimate relationships involve fighting, right? And that's just because of what we're picking up in our lives as we're growing up and we're experiencing our world and we don't really understand what we're seeing. We're just absorbing information, right? And we make the most sense out of it that we possibly can given our level of consciousness at the time. So what Bruce suggests in his work is that depending on the belief systems that we carry within us, it has the physical potential to turn certain genes off and other ones on, thus physically altering the biology of your body. Think about that for a second. This is something that in the metaphysical world we have understood for a long, long time. We always say things like your thoughts create your reality, right? And that's a metaphysical theory, right? But now in this whole epigenetic world, we are discovering that it's not just a metaphysical theory, it's actually a biological theory. And it absolutely changes your body on a chemical genetic level, which is insanely profound, right? So you pick up these limiting beliefs, and limiting beliefs are the beliefs of struggle, of strife, of not enough, etc. when you're young. And then as you're moving along through life, depending on what happens to you, the circumstances that come up and how you handle them, you continue to develop more limiting beliefs. I can never be happy, relationships never work out, there's no such thing as a successful long-term relationship, I'll never have money, I don't know how to be responsible, whatever the limiting belief is that you pick up as you grow up. And how they start to show up is when, for example, you decide, you know what, I'm done with how I've dealt with my relationships in the past. I want to create a new habit, a new behavior in my relationships. So you set out, you start reading books, and you start attending seminars, and you're like really dedicated to changing that story or that habit or pattern or whatever. And the moment you start to go for it, that you're like full force, all of a sudden you start attracting all of these problems, right? And I see it the most with coaches entering the business. They start a business, they're super psyched about it, and all of a sudden, everything goes wrong. Everything, right? They have all this potential, all this enthusiasm, stuff starts falling apart, people are getting fired, they're getting rejected, or whatever is happening in their world, and they just decide that that's a sign that they should quit, right? And that is such common behavior for all of us, depending on the area of our life that we're living in, right? If you are moving towards greater sense of well-being and greater sense of happiness, and suddenly you are being hit with either, this is too good to be true, or when is the other shoe gonna fall, or, I'm just waiting for the moment when it's gonna blow up. You've had those thoughts when you're trying to manifest something that's greater than your current level of comfort, right? That's self-sabotage at play. Those are your limiting beliefs coming into the situation and actively looking to destroy it to bring you back down to whatever the thermostat was that you set when you were very young. Okay? So in other words, your ego is very much invested in you staying at whatever level of comfort you set when you were very, very young. So if you had a very shitty thermostat for relationships when you were very young, and you suddenly meet someone that's really amazing, that's like your dream person, more than likely, if you're not conscious of your limiting beliefs and how to stop your self-sabotage, you are going to ruin that experience so that you can bring yourself back down to the level of comfort, to the original limiting belief that you had when you were a child or when you were a young adult. That sounds awful, and it's absolutely true. This is why we get into these patterns of shitty relationship, shitty relationship, shitty relationship, awful financial situation, awful financial situation, awful financial situation, because we have a blueprint for how comfortable we are with certain things. And when we step outside that comfort zone and we start pushing and we get pushed back, right, because we're manifesting difficulty essentially to get us back down, if we just back down, we go right back. We ruin whatever that progress was, we go right back. It's just going to bounce you right back to where you were. Now, when you start to recognize that you're having those moments, right? You're having the moments of, okay, I want to manifest this. This is at a higher frequency or vibration than what I've had previously. And you start to move towards that thing, and then you start to get pushed back. You start to get the things are falling apart, or people are getting mad at you, or they don't like you, they're not happy with you, whatever the situation is. If you just keep pushing, and you just keep pushing, and you just keep going, and you just keep going, even though you have all those self-limiting beliefs, eventually you're going to snap past that barrier. You're going to move past that particular barrier. And what happens then is that you reset your thermostat for a higher level of tolerance or comfort. So you go from here to here. Now, this is your new level of comfort. So now you're going to manifest or attract whatever is right here. Whatever is at this level, that's what you're going to bring into your life because you've reset the thermostat for your belief system until you do it all over again. This is why if you've never had money ever in your life and you grew up poor background, whatever, becoming a millionaire is like insanely challenging in your mind because of what you have to push through. It's not actually hard to manifest the money, right? Money is just an energy. It's a resource. It exists already. It's the mindset, the thermostat that you have is limiting your ability to even get near that amount of money, right? When you just hear that phrase, $1 million, you're like, oh my God, that's never going to happen, right? That's the first thing you think. That is never going to happen. That's really unrealistic, right? And when you hear people talk about their goals, you will often have that thought, that's unrealistic. That's not going to happen. Why? Because of your thermostat, because of your limiting beliefs. That's why that happens, right? So I want you guys to think of right now, one area of your life where you are stuck in a pattern that you realize is unhelpful, like not working at all. But you keep getting stuck in that pattern, whatever that pattern is. You can't seem to push through that. And then I want you to think about the times where you have tried to push through that and what actually happened. Think about all the challenges that came up, all the excuses that came up, right? Because the excuses are another part of them. Like, you want to lose 20 pounds and you start going to the gym, you start working out, and suddenly you get distracted. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I can't go to the gym, or I can't buy a workout program, or I can't do it because I have to do this, or I have to do that, right? We look for excuses to disrupt our path to get back to the level of the thermostat that we have set for ourselves. Okay? So think of an area of your life where you are unhappy with a limiting belief or whatever's happening. Then think about the times you've tried to push through that. And I want you to take an honest look at your self-sabotage methods. Take a look at the thoughts that you have that are sabotaging you. Take a look at the behaviors that you do that are sabotaging you. The food that you eat, the excuses that you make, the relationships that you allow when you know they're not good for you. Take a look at those behaviors. Be very, very honest. And then determine where you set your thermostat. Where did you set this thermostat? Where did that come from? When did you decide that that was like your level of happiness or your level of financial freedom or whatever? There's usually a story behind that, any one of those areas of your life. And decide if you're ready now to move beyond that and just choose one area and make a point to raise the thermostat. And notice as you do that, what happens, right? The discomfort that arises, the pushback that arises, because it's bound to happen. That's just part of the process of resetting your thermostat, right? Your blueprint. There are two resources I want to offer you. The first one, if you're a coach and you've been in the business for a while, you know it well, The Big Leap. In The Big Leap, he basically talks about this. He talks about our upper limits or our thermostat, right? When we reach to a point where we're striving for something that is past our level of comfort, we start to manifest some crazy shit, right? In order to bring us back down. So it's a really practical book on how to identify that and how to work through it. The second one is The Biology of Belief, which once again talks about, from an epigenetic perspective, how our belief system actually turns on and turns off certain gene expressions, thus creating things like disease in our body or health in our body, right? Which is amazing. And once again, this is something in the metaphysical world we've known for a long time, that before a thing becomes tangible, it's intangible. Before something is in the body, it's in the mind, right? And they're now proving that to be absolutely true. Depending on your belief system, your body expresses in a certain way, which is why happy people, we tend to experience as beautiful, right? It has zero to do with their physical appearance and everything to do with their personal belief system and how they express themselves, right? And that's why you see someone that is physically beautiful, but they look ugly to you, because personal belief system, expression, energetic expression. That's where this all comes into play. So hopefully this video has inspired you to take a look at your self-sabotage and your limiting beliefs and begin to address them from a very serious perspective so that you're not caught in the same trap when it comes to living with them. I am going to be offering a high-level, high-frequency mastermind at some point. So if you're interested in that, just keep me posted. Send me an email or a message and let me know. This is something that I personally am creating. I think it's going to be very valuable for us to understand why we do what we do with self-sabotage, and I'll be getting a lot more personal with my own stories in that particular group. And this group is coming as a result of a lot of personal requests, a lot of people asking for that kind of one-on-one support. So I'm creating that. If it's of interest, shoot me an email, send me a message, and I'll keep you on the list. We have a running wait list right now, so I'll be sure to include you. Thanks for hopping on. I hope that you receive much value from this video. I love you guys. Be good to yourselves and stop living in that self-sabotage mode. Yo, time to step up. All right, bye guys.